Hi everyone, it is Saturday, October 23rd. So I have read quite a lot since I talked to you last. I read a whole bunch of manga for the Haunted 24-Hour Manga Readathon that I was co-hosting from the 15th through the 18th with Jesse's Cave and Tony's Manga. So I'm not going to talk about all of those volumes here, but I will tell you that I did rate almost all of the volumes 4 stars, with the exception of a few that I rated 3 stars. But you can hear about all the thoughts that I had on each of the volumes or series that I read during that readathon in my Haunted 24-Hour Manga Readathon wrap-up, which I will link down in the description box below. I also had our manga club meeting, like I said. So I think when I checked in with you last, I had not yet read the 2 volumes of Parasite. So volumes 3 and 4 of Parasite by Hitoshi Iwaaki. I ended up rating both of those 4 stars. Again, I'm really enjoying the series. It's definitely not something that I was expecting to enjoy, just because I don't normally go for the alien invasion type storyline. But yeah, I really enjoyed that one. In fact, I just finished filming my wrap-up video for that, so you'll definitely be able to hear more of my thoughts on those volumes, because since it is not at the beginning of the series anymore, I'm not putting my thoughts on those volumes in my series first impressions video for the Monochrome Manga Club. So I will link all of the videos down in the description box below in case you're interested in hearing what I thought of all of the manga that I read. But in total, including all of the volumes that I read for the Haunted 24-Hour Manga Readathon and the Monochrome Manga Club, I have read 26 volumes of manga since I talked to you last. If you break down the Parasite volumes by individual volumes, I think that's more like 28 or so. So yeah, I've read a lot of manga since I've talked to you last. So other than that, this morning I just finished Paradise Club by Tim Meyer, and this one was going so great. Follows a family who gets a free trip to this vacation island, and while the father of the family that we meet at the beginning of the book is like checking everything out on the island, he sees something that he's not supposed to see, and that starts the skirmish. What the vacationers don't know is that they weren't the only ones that were invited to this island. A bunch of serial killers were also invited as well, and the serial killer's mission is to take out all of the vacationers. So it's basically one of those slasher survival stories, and that's definitely what I signed up for when I was reading this one, and it was exactly what I thought it was going to be for about 3/4 of the book. And then we get the twist, and we find out why this is happening, and then everything goes downhill for me. The twist was just so out of left field, and I was reading the author's note in the back, and he had mentioned that he had wrote this book for his patrons as like a serial novel, and he would put up little polls for them to vote on how the story should go, so more like a choose your own adventure type thing. And then whichever poll choice won, that is the direction he'd take the story. So I have to believe that this twist was what was chosen upon by his patrons, but it's just so weird. It like changed the genre of this book completely, and I can't even tell you what genre that ended up being, because that would spoil things. So yeah, definitely not what I was expecting at the end, but for a good 3/4 of this book, it was definitely what I had signed up for. So I ended up giving Paradise Club 3 stars. Most of what I didn't like about Paradise Club had to do with that twist. It has nothing to do with the author's writing style or anything like that. In fact, I do have 2 other books of his on my to-read list. One of them has to do with a megalodon, and the other one has to do with dinosaurs. And both of those things are things that I want to read more about. So I will be checking out more of his work in the future. But this one was just kind of disappointing. and I ended up giving it 3 stars. So yeah, I just finished that one this morning. Doing really great on my trick-or-treat-a-thon reads. I haven't logged all of the manga that I read. And to be honest, the trick-or-treat-a-thon is, as far as checking off prompts for me, I'm doing really well. But the overall readathon for me is getting a bit much. There are a lot of things for the readathon that get extra bonus points, like participating in reading sprints, which is something that I don't like to do. I've never participated in a reading sprint, and it's because I've always been one to read right before bed. That's the only time I usually read, unless I'm listening to an audiobook during my lunch hour from work, or listening to an audiobook while I'm putting my face on. But I only read pretty much right before bed, so I don't do reading sprints. It's not something that I'm interested in either, because I don't ever feel the need to just sit down and read. And if participating in this Haunted 24-Hour Manga Readathon has taught me anything about myself, I can't sit down and read for hours and hours on end. The book has to be like something that's so amazing that I don't want to put it down in order for me to do that. And that scenario is far and few between for me. As I get older, it's even rarer for me to find a book where I'm like wanting to read every single moment I can. And yeah, you will see if you look through my Goodreads read list that I don't give a lot of 5 stars for novels. I'm more generous giving 5 stars for mangas, but I hardly ever give a 5 star to a novel. And it's even rarer every year I get older. I don't know what that is, if it's just my tastes are so refined now, or I'm not finding the same enjoyment in reading that I did when I was younger, or maybe I'm just more picky about things when I read them. But I don't think I've given more than 3 novels, maybe, this year. I will put the number actually down here so you can see how many novels I have given 5 stars this year. I can definitely think of one right off the top of my head. And that was Tokyo Ever After by Emiko Jean. But that is the only one I can remember giving 5 stars to at the moment. That was a novel. I can tell you how many more mangas that I have given 5 stars to. In fact, I'm really generous with the 5 stars usually with the manga. I don't know why that is, but yeah. I don't know. So anyway, going back to the reading sprints, it's not something that I enjoy doing, but it gets a lot of bonus points. You could get 20 points per person on the team that you're on just by attending the reading sprint and, you know, participating in that and socializing. And I'm not interested. Just not interested. I've just been getting really irritated because to me, a readathon should be about the books and the number of pages read and the prompts. And if you're doing a bingo board, the number of bingos that you get. It shouldn't be about, hey, here, do this for bonus points, where you can get more points than you can for reading. Yeah, I don't know. That's been bothering me a lot about this readathon, to the point where I may not participate in it next year. Yeah, so anyway, enough of my ranting on that. It's kind of frustrating because they're doing a lot of check-ins and they want you to be social, and the more social you are, the more points your team gets. And you know, I'm sure there's more people like me who don't enjoy being social, who just like to be on the sidelines and maybe chime in here or there, but I'm not in. A lot of times too, because I'm such a backlist reader, all of the books that everybody's talking about are not books that I'm interested in or reading. And even if I am interested in it, they're talking about it so heavily that sometimes spoilers slip, and don't want that either. So, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, moving on from that. So, today's shirt is the Haunted Mansion. You can't even see, but it's a Haunted Mansion shirt. And down below it says, Tomb Sweet Tomb. Happy haunting since 1969. And so, yeah. I also have a Haunted Mansion leggings. So, yeah, I'm all Haunted Mansioned out. I have watched the Muppets Haunted Mansion. I didn't mention it to you before, but I have watched it. I really, really enjoyed it, of course. If you didn't know, Muppets Christmas Carol is my favorite Christmas movie. We watch it every year, Christmas Eve going into Christmas Day. So we start it late enough on Christmas Eve so that by the time it ends, it's Christmas Day, and then we open up presents then. It's just something that we've done forever, and my family, we've always opened up Christmas presents at midnight or past midnight, because when I was younger, we would have to go to my dad's house for Christmas Day. And so we'd open up presents Christmas Eve with my mother, and then we'd go over to dad's for Christmas Day. So we've always opened Christmas presents at midnight. So, yeah, it's a family tradition, and I think now that Muppets Haunted Mansion is out, we'll be watching that every year as well, and I really enjoyed that. But other than that, we haven't really watched any Halloween movies, so there's only 1 week left in the month, so we need to move on that. Last night we watched I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is a movie that I watched before. I think I've only watched it once or twice before, but my daughter had never seen it, and so we were looking for something to watch, and she said that she'd like to watch that, so we did. I still need to read that book. I do have it. It's by Lois Duncan. So yeah, maybe we'll watch the sequel, because it's on Amazon Prime right now, but we have a bunch of Halloween movies we still need to watch this year. And I actually am hoping to start my watch of Rose Red, Stephen King's Rose Red, this weekend. After I film this, I do need to edit my Monochrome Manga Club video and get that processed for Monday. But while it's rendering, I do want to watch Rose Red. But other than that, the only other thing that I have been trying to do lately is finish my daughter's Halloween socks. So I've been trying to get her a pair of Halloween socks done, and I've just not had great success with putting aside time for knitting, plus the fact that I have been dealing with a lot of arm pain. It's just something that I deal with from time to time. It's something that developed when I was a teen. For those of you who don't know, I did play the flute through intermediate, high school, and college. And sometime in high school, I started to develop pain in my arms. Just from the sheer amount of playing that I did. We did go to the doctor and check it out, and they were like, it's nothing. I am convinced I have arthritis, because when it gets cold, it's when the pain flares up. So it basically will start here in my hand, and then it migrates up towards my elbow, and then sometimes it goes all the way up to my shoulder. This past couple times I've only had it in my right side, but there have been times where I have had pain in both of my arms all the way up to my shoulders. And I cannot tell you how painful and uncomfortable it is when I have pain like that. I can't grip anything. And just moving, just the lightest move of my fingers hurts. But, it's got to be done. So I'm literally in pain until it goes away. And sometimes it can take a couple hours. Most of the time it takes 24 hours. Sometimes it takes 2 days. And I've been having bouts of that lately. So I haven't been able to knit, and it's been killing me. There were 3 days this week that I couldn't knit because of pain. And so that's just been how it is. And it's a big reason why I haven't gotten these socks done. But I do have one done right now. So this is what it looks like. This is the, what's it called? Vanilla, I believe it's the Vanilla Souffle pattern by Christy Houghton of Yarn Cafe Creations. The colorway that I am using, this variegated one, is called Dracula from Lolo Did It. It's in her original base. And then for the heels and toes, I am using Knit Picks Stroll in the Hollyberry color. And yeah, really, really liking how this looks. I'll get a little bit closer for you to see. So I did a 2x2 rib. There's about 36 rows here in the leg. Slip stitch heel, a rounded heel turn, and then just went down and did the K. Jones umbrella toe. And so, yeah, that is one side that I have done for her. I am working away on the other one. So today I got up to here. So I'm ready to put in the heel. So I'm not too far off. Hoping to have her a pair of socks done so she can wear them to school this week. But yeah, that's what I want to do this evening, is watch Rose Red, finish up my editing of the Monochrome Manga Club series First Impressions video, work away on that sock, and then hopefully get some work done on my Halloween top that has been languishing for a year. I did dig it out a couple months ago. I have been working away diligently on it, but like I said, I've been having pain issues. So I've been prioritizing my daughter's socks as opposed to my shirt, since I don't really go anywhere. I'm not going to the office still. So yeah, I mean, I go to the office, I've told you this, but I don't go every day like I used to before the pandemic. So that's pretty much everything that I've been up to since I talked to you last. So I will check in with you one more time before the month is over. And until then, I hope you're all having a great time with Halloween and spooky season. And if that's not something you celebrate, I hope you're having some great reads and great times in any case. So I will check in with you later.
Hello everybody, it is Monday morning, October 25th. It is about 1:30 a.m. or actually, looking at the clock right now, it says it's 1:42 a.m. For those of you who don't know, I am a night owl, so I usually go to bed about this time, but I also do most of my reading right before I go to bed. So, since it is the start of the Manga Readathon hosted by Shay Geeks Out, I'm going to start reading my manga for the week. If you don't know about the Fall into Manga Readathon, it is a week-long readathon that starts today, October 25th, and we'll go through Halloween, which is Sunday, and we have 3 objectives: to read a volume of manga a day, to read a Shay favorite, and then to read a seasonal themed title. So I'm going to kill 3 birds with 1 stone, if you will, and read Phantom Tales of the Night by Matsuri. This is going to be a reread for me, at least this volume. I have read this one, I would say it's 2 years ago now. It was one of my manga club's selections when we were in our first year. So that's my monochrome manga club. I do have a series first impressions video on this title already up on my channel, so if you'd like to hear my thoughts about it when I read it, then you can. But I will be rereading this one, and then I'll check back in tomorrow and let you know what I thought, and then show you what I'll be reading after that. So I am going to dig into this volume and then promptly hit the sack, because I do have to work in about 7 hours or so. So yeah, I'm going to dig into this right now, and I will talk to you later. So it is Saturday, October 30th, and this is what I have to read before the end of the month. These are 3 volumes of Phantom Tales of the Night by Matsuri, volumes 5, 6, and 7. I'm reading these for the Fall into Manga Love Readathon. I fell behind yesterday because video editing didn't go as planned. I had a lot of trouble with my computer and transferring the files to the computer to get them edited and rendered, and it took almost all day for me to get that fixed. So I wasn't able to get a lot of reading done. Therefore, I wasn't able to read my 1 volume of manga for the Fall into Manga Love Readathon. I read about this much. So we're supposed to read 1 volume of manga per day, and I just wasn't able to do that. But I do want to finish this one today and finish this one today, because this is today's volume. And then this one I will read tomorrow, because like I said, 1 volume a day. So this is for tomorrow. But I also have to read this. This is volume 6? Yeah, volume 6 of Bleach in the omnibus version. So there are 3 volumes in here, volume 16, 17, and 18. I do have to read this for my Rotating Decks TBR game, because if I don't read it, then I absolutely have to take a punishment for November. And since I've already filmed my TBR video, which actually went up today, saying that I wasn't pulling a punishment for this, I have to get this one read. So, yeah, this is what my last 2 days of October will look like. I am still trying to get a top done. I've been knitting a shirt, I guess you would call it, a top. And I am almost there. I just have to finish off the sleeve that I'm working on, work on the second sleeve and finish that, and then do the neckband, and then I'm done. So I don't have a lot, but considering I have this much to read before the end of the month, things are not looking great. So yeah, I just thought I'd check in and let you know what my plans are for the next couple days. I will definitely be back tomorrow to wrap up the month, give you my thoughts on everything that I have read, and hopefully everything you see here will have already been read by then. So I'm going to get reading, and I will talk to you later.
Hi everyone, it is Sunday, October 31st. So it is Halloween day. It is later in the evening, but I've been doing a lot of reading today, just trying to make sure I got everything read for the Treatathon, and then finishing up with the Fall into Manga Love Readathon hosted by Shay over at Shay Geeks Out. And so yeah, I have read a bunch of stuff since I talked to you last, so let me talk to you about those first. The first thing I finished since I talked to you last was Hell House by Richard Matheson. I had picked this one up for the Trick-or-Treat-a-thon prep when I did my Barnes & Noble cover buy trip at the end of September. So I ended up reading both of the books that I bought on that trip, which is great. But this one didn't meet the mark for me. It follows a bunch of people going into the Belasco house. So you've got a couple scientists and some psychic mediums going in to try to exorcise this house. It started off really promising, but went downhill really fast. There are several sexual situations that come up in this book, and it's not sex scenes. There are no explicit sex scenes, but there are sexual things that happen and situations that come up that are very sexual, and I just didn't enjoy that, especially from a male perspective. I've talked to you about this before when I talked to you about The Haunted, and I'm just not really enjoying that kind of content from a male perspective. I don't read a lot of it to begin with, and I don't understand what the point is of always having women be naked, shed their clothes in front of men. I just didn't enjoy it. And in this particular one, the house seemed to affect the women in that way, and the men didn't get affected hardly at all. And so, yeah, didn't like that. Ended up giving this one 3 stars. This just solidified to me why I don't buy a lot of novels. You'll notice that I do a lot of manga hauls on my channel, and I don't do a lot of book hauls. That is purely for the fact that a lot of times the books that I purchase end up not being books that I'll ever reread, or being books that I've enjoyed or I liked, but I didn't really like. They are not books, like I said, that I won't ever reread. And so, to me, that's kind of like a waste of money. Like, yeah. So, I will be taking this one and The Haunted to my local free library when I go visit next. But, yeah, I don't tend to have great luck when buying books. I have better luck when I buy manga. It's almost like with manga, I can tell exactly what kind of story I'm getting, and if I'm not sure, I can just pick up like 3 volumes and then I'll know for sure. Whereas this particular book was $18. I mean, it was $18 and I didn't really enjoy it. Whereas I could have gotten 2 volumes of manga for that amount of money and really enjoyed myself. And so, yeah, I'm a little bit salty about the 2 books that I bought at Barnes & Noble, but I'm glad that I had read them shortly after I had purchased them. But, yeah, this is just why I don't buy a lot of novels. I tend to borrow a lot of the novels that I read through my library. And then if I really, really enjoy it and think it's going to be something I'll reread in the future, then I'll pick up a copy. But more often than not, things just aren't hitting the spot for me. And I don't know if that has anything to do with the fact that I've been watching a lot of BookTube lately, and I'm getting swayed. Like, there was a time period where I didn't watch BookTube at all. Like, when I first started BookTube, I was watching a lot of BookTube. When I first started my channel, I was watching a lot of BookTube, and I had found that the things that I was picking to read were not things that I was enjoying, and so I stopped watching BookTube for a long time. I'd watch one BookTube video here or there, but not to the extent that I'm watching BookTube videos now, where I'm watching a BookTube video every day, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 BookTube videos every day, and I'm wondering if me seeing certain books come up on people's channels all the time is making me pick up things that I normally wouldn't have. Like my inner self is not telling me, hey, you're not gonna enjoy that, but I pick it up anyway. I'm not hearing that. I'm not hearing myself tell me, you're not gonna enjoy that, why are you picking that up? I'm just picking up things and I'm not enjoying them. So, like, October has been, novel-wise, a low-rated month for me. Like, half of the novels that I read were only 3 stars. And so I'm going to have to really look at the things that I'm picking up to read and assess, because the last few months, when I have been really low novel rated months for me. The novels that I read, they're not getting like 4s or 5s. They're getting 3s. And I don't want to have times where I'm reading a bunch of books that are just 3 stars. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if watching BookTube is making me ignore the fact that I'm not gonna enjoy things that everybody is reading, because that's typically me. I'm typically the person that doesn't read what everybody else is reading because I tend to have the unpopular opinion. But yeah, this month has just not been great as far as the novels that I've picked up. So anyway, that was a long, rambly chat about my reading lately. The things that I've picked up novel-wise haven't hit the mark, and I'm not sure why. Like, these 2 haunted house books should have been great. And they're books that I don't think, well, I've saw Hell House on somebody else's channel, but I didn't remember what it was about. Like, I remember seeing the cover, but I didn't remember what it was about, other than the fact that it was a haunted house story, which, great. I love haunted house stories. And I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about the haunted. So, obviously that was my fault. I picked up 2 books that I didn't enjoy, but something's going on. Like, I don't understand why I'm not picking books that I'm really enjoying as opposed to books that I'm just, it was okay. I liked it. So that's a little upsetting. But anyway, back to the things that I finished reading since I talked to you last. I finished my 6th omnibus of Bleach by Tite Kubo. So this is volume 16, 17, and 18. And I'm just really enjoying this journey still. I'm waiting for my daughter to read this one so that we can watch the anime episodes. But she's working on midterms right now. And so it should be, I would say in the next couple weeks, she'll probably get this one done. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this one. I have the next one on my TBR for the month of November, so that's great. And speaking of my daughter, it is her birthday the first week of November, so that's exciting, but still it's one of those milestones where you makes me think, oh my goodness, she's, X years old. And it makes me reflect on how old I am, but it's like, I can't believe that many years has gone by. I'm sure all of you parents out there know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I'm just getting off on tangents today. So I also read my 7 volumes of manga for the Manga Love Readathon, or Fall into Manga Love Readathon, because it is the fall, edition of this readathon. So I read my 7 volumes of Phantom Tales of the Night by Matsuri. I ended up giving all of these 4 stars. I've read volume 1 before for the In Real Life Manga Club that I host a couple years ago. I think it was a couple years ago that this volume first came out, and we read it shortly after that. And so I've just been collecting it, and I haven't read any of the volumes yet. So I did, in fact, read all of the volumes that are currently out right now. And so there were 7 of them, which was great because part of Shay's prompts for the Fall into Manga Love Readathon was to read a volume of manga a day. And so this one fit that boat rather well. So I'll show you the covers really fast. This is volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, volume 4, volume 5, volume 6, and volume 7. And so I really enjoy these. The series is just a bunch of short stories that are about a lot of the characters that we meet, including the owner of the inn, which is this character here on the cover. They trade sanctuary for secrets. So We learn about the owner, we learn about the owner's assistants, and some of the guests that stay at the inn. And so by volume 7, we have a pretty large cast of characters. And there's a lot of things that are going on. We don't follow any one character for like a long period of time. There is a lot of jumping back and forth between characters, and there are a lot of stories in here that kind of make you think. I can tell you that there are a few stories that I read that I still don't understand what happened. Like, I'm constantly thinking about that story or the stories and what happened in them, and there are a couple that I can't exactly figure out how the stories concluded, like what happened at the end there. And so, yeah, even though some of them are confusing and a little thought-provoking like that, I'm still really enjoying my experience with this series. Each of these volumes have color pages at the beginning, and I'm just loving the artwork. I'll show you one of my favorites, which is in volume 3. And when I opened it, I was just like, oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. So yes, this is our innkeeper and their 2 assistants, and I'm just really enjoying this series. So I'm glad to have read those. And then the last thing I read this evening, probably going to be the last thing I read today, is In a Dark, Dark Room and Other Scary Stories, retold by Alvin Schwartz, pictures by Dirk Zimmer. I ended up giving this one 5 stars, as I always do, because it is a reread. It is one that I first experienced as a child and just have always read it. Like, I try to read it at least once every year, preferably in October. The last couple years I just haven't, just because I've been really busy, or just my reading was just too much for me at the time. You know, things like that happen. And so I definitely made sure to pick it up today. I really, really enjoyed this. This will fulfill the reread a favorite and eat a favorite snack prompt for the Trick-or-Treat-a-thon, which is one of the corner prompts, and that will give me my 4 corners bingo. I haven't yet put in all of my Trick-or-Treat-a-thon prompts, but I have until tomorrow evening to do that. So I'll definitely be doing that tomorrow. But I think at the end of the Trick-or-Treat-a-thon, I have done my 3 bingos at least. So I will put up a little graphic right here to show you what my bingo board looks like at the end of the month. I read quite a bit. At last count, I read about 41 things in the month of October. I did read a lot of manga, and if you break down a couple of the omnibus mangas that I read, that takes it up more towards the 46 thing mark. Sounds like there are kids trick-or-treating next door. But yeah, so I really enjoyed this one. I have a favorite story in this one. It's called The Green Ribbon. And so if you know this short story collection, you know which one I'm talking about. But I really enjoyed rereading this one. It is a kid's book, so the font is super huge. It didn't take me very much time at all. And the illustrations are a little creepy as well. But it was a great way to end my reading on Halloween. And so I'm really happy to have gotten everything that I had planned to read, or at least most of the things that I planned to read, checked off this month. There were 2 things that I had put on my plate to read, but I ended up filling those prompts for the Trick-or-Treat-a-thon bingo board with mangas that I read for the 124 Hour Manga Readathon. So I ended up not reading those, which is fine because I'll definitely read them later. Hello, Editing Di here. So I completely forgot to tell you about the fact that I also read My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. This one I probably shouldn't have ever read because exorcism is a religious practice, and I don't enjoy reading things that have to do with religion, anything. So this one wasn't one for me. I didn't enjoy a lot of aspects of this book, including the bullying that our main character goes through, the physical abuse that her friend goes through from her parents, the bullying that our main character goes through from her friend's parents, and other adults who should know better than that. And yeah, there was a lot of things that I really hated about this book. I did enjoy the 80s references. The titles of the chapters were mostly songs that I was familiar with. I didn't recognize all of them, but I recognized the majority of them. But I definitely should have steered clear of this one. I definitely shouldn't have read it as my first Grady Hendrix book, because this wasn't an enjoyable experience for me. And like I was saying earlier, I think I read this one because I was persuaded to from all of the booktube videos that I've been watching lately. And yeah, I just need to tell myself, even though everybody says it's such a good book, you probably shouldn't read it. This was definitely one of those cases. And yeah, it was very disappointing. I did end up giving it 3 stars. I listened to some of it on audio, and up until the point where all of the bullying starts and her friend gets possessed, it was fine. I was enjoying it, but once all of that happens and then the bullying starts, I had to switch to an ebook copy, which I borrowed from my library. The audio I had borrowed from Audible Plus. It was available on Audible Plus, but I borrowed an ebook copy from the library so that I could finish the book, because that was about 50% in, and I almost gave up on it, to be honest. But I was curious about what was going to happen and how everything went down in the end. The epilogue portion of the book I enjoyed as well, but yeah, this one was lackluster for me. I ended up giving it 3 stars, and I'm hoping my next experience with a Grady Hendrix book will be better. So back to Past Di to tell you about the rest of the books she read at the end of October and the rest of the things that she did at the end of the month. But yeah, I read a lot this month. I'm kind of hoping that I'm not burnt out for November, because my TBR for November ended up a lot heavier than I had expected it to. But yeah, other than that, I did finish up my daughter's socks, which I had talked to you about last time. So let me show them to you here. So she had 2 socks. I actually finished them up last week Sunday, so a week ago. So she was able to wear these last week and make use of them. So yeah, these were the socks. These are the Dracula socks. So I'll get a little bit closer so you can see the detail. And so there's just a texture pattern here down the leg, and then on the top of the foot, plain stockinette. And this colorway here, this one is called Dracula. And then I finished it off with heels and toes in Hollyberry from Nitpicks. The Dracula is from Lolo Did It. So those are socks for my daughter. I don't have socks for me. I was hoping to get to some, but I decided to focus my efforts on my Arachne sweater instead. I'm calling it my Winter's Web, because this is what it looks like. So I just finished this a few hours ago. You can see it has a neckline, sleeve 1, and sleeve 2. So I'll hold it up like this. So I actually made my sleeves kind of 3/4 length, because it is still rather warm here where I am. It was in the 90s again this week. It's supposed to be in the 70s this coming week. But yeah, so it's not really cool enough to wear long sleeve things, long sleeve sweaters, this time of year, and so this sweater is actually made in a wool and bamboo blend, which I thought would be much nicer to wear. The feel of it is very silky because of those bamboo fibers. But I am just really, really in love with this. I am so happy it's done. It's been a year in the making, over, because I did start this before October 2020, I believe. But yeah, this is Knit Picks yarn, and I'm just really, really happy with this. I have already tried it on. It fits really, 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 really well, but I have not yet blocked it, so it is a little bit puckery still. But on, you can't tell that, you can't see the puckers. It just fits well, and I'm so happy because I had to do a bunch of modifications on this one because I could not get gauge with the needle sizes that were asked for in the sweater. But the pattern that I used was Arachne by Andy Satterland, and I actually did these on size 4 knitting needles, which the pattern calls for size 7. Size 4 gave me the gauge I needed, so I had to go down to a size medium for the stitch counts to get the size sweater that I needed. So yeah, it was a shot in the dark. Actually, it's the first time I've had to modify a sweater this much because my gauge was so off. And even up until the point where I finished the body, I was like, don't know if that's gonna fit. But it fits really great. I'm super happy with it. And yeah, so I called it my winter web because it is a blue color with the gray web. And so I thought, I could wear this during the winter time too. Because spider webs aren't just for October. I love it. I am super happy with this. So that was another feat that I finished in the month of October, and I'm super glad to have that off my needles. It was a project that I had planned to finish in my Make 9 for 2021. And if you're not familiar, Make 9 is something that the crafting communities kind of do, where they put together like a board of 9 things that they want to complete or make in the year. And I have been doing terrible on the things that I had chosen for myself for that, but that project was one of the things that was on that list, and so I'm glad to have gotten that done. So now that November is looming, I do have to work on some Christmas gift knitting. I have already started a couple things, and those are the only 2 things that I'm doing as far as Christmas gift knitting. And so I've already made a start on that, which is great, which means I'm not starting from scratch. But yeah, that's pretty much all that's happened since I talked to you last. Oh, let me tell you about my shirt. So this is another one of those shirts that I got off of Etsy, and you can see it's a ghost with a stack of books, and it actually says books. So I'm really, really liking that. I'm also wearing my Halloween leggings. But yeah, so that'll pretty much do it for me for the month of October. I'm going to get ready to check on my villagers on Animal Crossing and do my little Halloween trick-or-treat thing, see if anything's different, and have a spotted dinner, and that'll be it. So I hope you all have had an amazing October and had some amazing reads. Read a lot, read quality things that you really, really enjoyed. And I hope you all have a great Halloween or day if you don't celebrate. But that will do it for me for this month. So I will be back again with another vlog in November. Let me know down in the comments below what your most favorite thing to have read or done in October was, and if nothing else, and you would just like to let me know that you were here, if you could leave me a jack-o'-lantern emoji down in the comments below, that would be greatly appreciated and would really help me out. that will do it for me for October. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.